These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
So largely what we're talking about here is the cultural shift and how, contrary to what the NPR CEO, former NPR CEO said, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. This has nothing to do with free speech or anything else. These are decisions being made by people that at the end of the day come down to dollars and cents. It's as simple as that. And you owe nobody your attention or anything else. And nobody just deserves a job. Would everybody in their right mind love to host The Tonight Show and make $16 million for doing it? By the way, we did check the Kimmel numbers. He makes 15 mil. To think that they like, how did that negotiation go? You're gonna have to take 1 million less than Colbert. Anyway, what we are seeing is the democratization of media. We don't need the government to fund NPR anymore. We don't need giant corporations to pay $100 million budgets so that corporate comics can tell us to be injected with things. And here is White House spokesperson Karoline Leavitt calling out NPR for being a propaganda network.
These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
All right, so there, as always, you're getting just competence from people that do deserve jobs and the meager government salary that she's working on. But I want to throw to this one specifically, because when people are like, oh my God, if we don't have NPR, what's going to happen? Remember this. Remember that they were a strong piece of perhaps, well, the Biden dementia scandal is the big one, but it's ancillarily connected. Probably the biggest or second biggest political scandal we've had in the last 10 years, which is the Hunter Biden laptop story. And what they wrote in October of 2020 was, why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Read more in this week's newsletter. We don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Of course, it turns out that everything in the Hunter Biden laptop was true. Rudy Giuliani was telling the truth the entire time. There were absolute connections between Hunter Biden and the fact that he had a job at Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company, when he had no expertise. Oh, and he was a crackhead, and that it was really about getting access to his dad, who originally was vice president when the whole thing started and then became president of the United States. And they told you right there that they don't want you to care about a non-story, which, as I said, turned out to either be the biggest or perhaps second biggest scandal of the last decade. Did anyone get fired at NPR over that? I don't think so. So if they were even pretending, even in the most thin way possible, to pretend, you would then say, okay, boy, we really did get this thing wrong. We better fire an editor. We better fire the guy who gets us coffee. Somebody's got to go, but they didn't do that. That would have at least offered the people, those of us who fund this thing, a little bit of cover, right? We would have been like, well, they made a mistake, but they did fire some people, but they did not do that. Thus, they got their funding cut.